Hare Krishna. So, ready for part 2? I had the challenge this morning of competing with the smells coming from the kitchen. Now I have the challenge of competing with food coma. So, I guess that means it better be especially entertaining, which I'm not, so let's see. But thank you all for giving this opportunity to discuss this most glorious set of instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So just do a quick refresher. So we covered the first 3 verses of our Siksastakam prayers. And just a reminder, so the first 5 verses cover our sadhana bhakti, the practice of bhakti through regulated procedures. Then verses 6 and 7 are going to cover bhava bhakti. And then 7 and 8 will cover prema bhakti, the ultimate achievement that we can work through. So the first 3 verses and even the 4th verse, a little technical, maybe a little heavy. And then as we get towards the end, we get to very sweet experiences that we'll discuss. So it kind of lightens up as we go, but also establishes, a pretty high bar that will bring us back to our surrender and dependence on the holy names as our only means to climb this mountain, to reach this pinnacle of spiritual success. So the first verse hopefully gives us faith in why chanting is the core of everything we do. Because the holy names are bedecked with these 7 amazing perfections that make it the process for spiritual advancement. It cleanses the heart of all of its misgivings. Again, extinguishes the fire of this conditional life. It is the soothing rays of the moon that awakens Krishna Prema. It gives us this ocean of bliss. We all want happiness and bliss. And it is through the chanting of the holy names that we'll actually be able to relish and taste real happiness. And of course, the holy names themselves are the purifying process by which we can remove all of our the contaminants that prevent us from tasting the holy names. This impurity is what why we don't have the real taste for the holy names, right? Just like if you had a very nice bowl of sweet rice and it is cooked with Mother Yashoda's best milk, and the best and best of rice and sugar, and everything is boiled in proportion to perfection. And there's this sweet rice, the smell is coming unbelievable. But within that is 1 teaspoon of sand. What happens to the sweet rice? You'll get the taste, you'll enjoy it, you'll relish it. No. Right? So the impurity within is what holds us back from experiencing the bliss of that sweet rice. So similarly, the heart, it has its impurities. Let's own them. They're there. But the beauty is, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us the means to be free from them. And when we do, then the taste, the ruchi, the rasa of the holy names will emerge. So we may not be tasting it today, which is natural, but by the process of chanting, we'll remove those grains of sand, one by one. And we know, if you tried to pick out the grains of sand yourself, would you have any success? It's impossible. So just like that, removing these anarthas on our own volition is impossible. But by the mercy of Gauranga Mahaprabhu, and taking to the process he gave us, there's only one topic in all 8 verses. And what is that? Chanting. He's very purposeful in his mission. And so, by that mercy, we can actually achieve it. So, that's the start. But as we said in verse 2, despite all of these great benedictions, despite all of Krishna's energies invested in these names, despite that there's no hard and fast rules for chanting these names, what's my misfortune? Not enough cake at prasadam time? My misfortune is no attraction for the holy names. if we cement in our heart from this point forward that is actually our only misfortune, our only durdevam, is not enough attraction to the holy names, we will soon achieve perfection of life. It's that simple. If you really want to do it, just tattoo it on your arm. My only misfortune is not my spouse, is not my lack of visas, not my lack of zeros in my bank account. It is durdevam idrisha nahajani na anuraga. No raga attachment to the holy names. And of course, why, despite so much chanting, hearing, reading, we don't have? Because of the offenses to the holy names. Nama aparad. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur are guiding us that we must work to eliminate very conscientiously the offenses. And with that, then the attachment to the holy names will manifest. And when we do, we will be adorned with these 4 beautiful qualities of beautiful hair, the qualities of Tunadapi, Sunichena, Torodapi Sahishna, Amanina Manadena. This humility, this tolerance, this offering respects far and wide, and expecting none in return. That is the result of good chanting. It is not the result of anything else. It is through good chanting that these 4 qualities manifest. And in that, we will kirtaneya sadahari, continuously swim in the ocean of nectar of the names of Hari. So that is the first 3 verses that we discussed. So now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm just going to fast forward through this because I wasn't. And we'll come to verse 4. So like we did last time, we'll chant the verse, read the translation, and then get into the purport. Nadanam na janam na sundarim kavitam va jagadisha kamaye mama janmani janmanishware bhavatar bhakti rahit ki tvai. Translation. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your cause's devotional service, birth after birth. So it's a very powerful verse. So we saw in, again, verse 3 that chanting without offenses brings about these beautiful qualities. And now Bhakti Vinod Thakur is telling us that if a sadhaka's attachment to material pleasures is not severed, then his sambandha, this relationship with Krishna, will not fully manifest. So our progress to Krishna Prema from sadhana bhakti is predicated on this detachment from our material hankerings. So Rupa Goswami explains in the beginning of Nectar Devotion, this very famous verse you all know, Nyavilashita Shunyam Gyana Kamadinavatam Nuko in Krishna Anushinam Bhakti Uttama. So what makes Bhakti Uttama so pleasing is sand. So what makes Bhakti pure is the absence of any desires, any personal desires. That I'm chanting, I'm serving the Lord because I want some wealth, I want followers, I want fame, I want these different things. That is not pure Bhakti. And that will not give us this desired goal that we have, is to enjoy fully in the ocean of the holy name. So this verse is giving us the indication that the highest stage of bhakti cannot manifest until we become free from the material attachments. Right? So this is the point. So the impediments, what are they? Desire for wealth, najanam, desire for followers, and nasundarim, desire for beautiful women. Now, just technically, so Bhakti Vinod Thakur and Bhakti Siddhanta Thakur both refer to this nasundarim to refer to the flowery words and poetic literatures of mundane nature. But of course, Srila Prabhupada kind of guided us to this translation, so we can understand it in both contexts. Because ultimately, mundane literature is there to fuel our lustful attachments, so that we can think is the connectivity. But just from a technical perspective, that was the connectivity there. So we see in this verse, this topic, Janmani Janmanish. So how much we must purify of desires, that even the desire for liberation is not important to the devotee. Right? Because the devotee is not concerned about their geographic position, whether I'm in the spiritual world or whether I am in the material world. That is not of concern. So what is the desire of the devotee? Remember that when we say Anyabilashita Shunyam, no desires, can we become desireless? No. Because the soul is active. So because the soul is active, there has to be desires. So it is not about having no desires, it's about having no material desires. But we must be full of spiritual desires. And this is where Srimad Bhagavatam and Chaitanya Charitamrita come into play for us. Because the great devotees, the great personalities, they have understood what we should really desire. I often use this example. If you give a choice to a 4-year-old boy or girl, it won't be gender specific, you can have 5 chocolates or you can have 5 diamonds. What that person's young boy or girl is going to take? Now, would we consider that a good desire? Is that intelligent? According to their knowledge, yes. But according to complete, no. Because their desire is that if they took the diamond, how many chocolates they could have? So like that, in our immature consciousness, we go to the Lord and we ask for relief from all these different things we think are afflicting us. Oh, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough job, fame, this, that. Oh, a long list we give. And that list is evolving. What we asked for 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, we laugh. Oh, that fool, what was I thinking? I'm doing the same thing today in a different flavor. That's it. So what we learn from the prayers of the great personalities is, what do they pray for? What are they praying for? Because they have become enlightened. And by that, following that mood, we understand. And our deepest prayer is to have the intelligence to know that what is really beneficial for me is attachment to the holy names and detachment from all of my material desires that are preventing me from experiencing the bliss of the holy names. So when we pray to the Lord this way, He becomes very pleased. Oh, my dear child is now asking for my help, for something worthy. When we ask for a few, pieces of chocolate, that sounds worthy. So the process for us is to understand that this unconditional service is the key for us. Not Krishna, I'll serve you if. No ifs. Just render service. And we're going to see this mood in perfection when we discuss the 8th verse. And we'll read a few verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. They'll blow our mind as to how beautiful they are. So these material attachments are very deeply rooted. So we must be very aggressive to attack them. We should not be whimsical about them. Millions and millions of births we have been chasing these desires, and none of it satisfied us. And so we must be very attentive and very strong to detach from these, right? And Krishna explains to Arjuna, why this attachment is so dangerous. And he explains how, Arjuna is wondering, this all sounds so logical, right? Material equals bad, spiritual equals good. Pretty simple. I don't need a PhD to know that. But seemingly people are dragged by an invisible force to sinful life. So what is Krishna? Very powerful. And again, we'll use the recent example, right? Lord Ramchandra. What was the result of his lust? Success? Victory? Complete devastation. When Mandodari came to see Ravan lying dead, she is not lamenting at Lord Ram for, killing Ravan. What is she saying? You fool! You have left us unprotected now because of your lust. She had intelligence. She knew what was the cause of Ravan's downfall. It was not the arrows of Lord Ram. It was his lust. So this material attachment we have to sever. And by meditating on this 4th verse from Siksastakam, we have some hope to overcome. And we should remember why we remain attached. Right? If you have a $5 bill and I say, okay, will you exchange that to me for this $1 bill? Any of you are going to detach from your $5 bill? No? Nobody? If I have a $20 bill and you have your $5 bill, now will you detach from your $5 bill? Yeah, obviously. It doesn't take a rocket scientist or an economist to know that's a good trade. Because we are trading something of lesser value for higher value. It's easy. So Krishna tells us, right, this Param Jistva Nivartate in 2nd chapter only, Bhagavad Gita, that this higher taste of bhakti is the only way in which you'll detach from the lower taste of material life. So, but we're not tasting that. Right now we are in this jaundiced condition, right? So what is of low value we think is high, and what is of high value we think is low. So what to do? Follow the process. Follow the process. Even though we are not yet internally inclined, using intelligence, understanding that this is truly the high taste. Follow the process. And what is that process? Chanting. That will detach us and sever the ties to all of our material hankerings. Assuredly. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, we measure our progress in bhakti by how many verses we have memorized? How many bhajans of Narottam Das Thakur I know? No. He says we measure our progress by how much I have detached from my material hankerings. Today, compared to 6 months ago, am I more or less attached? Don't measure in days increments. Month is good. 6 months, a year. That should be our measure. If we have detached more, I'm watching less TV, doing less this, that, whatever your is, okay, you are making progress. So this is how we can objectively evaluate, am I achieving the results of verse number 4? Okay? We'll come back to more on this. Now we get to verse number 5, the last verse of our Sambandha Gyan. Ainanda tanuja kinkaram patitam mamishame babam budao kripaya tava para pankaja stita duli sajasam vachintaya. O son of Maharaj Nitya Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. So there's 2 main points in this verse that we're going to really sort of pull out from this. The first, and very important, please pick me up. I kind of hinted at it earlier. Please pick me up. What does this mean? It means that we are fully dependent on the mercy of Krishna. We are fully dependent on the mercy of Krishna. Again, that is our definition of humility. Knowing my full dependence. So our success in spiritual life will be based on Krishna's mercy. Krishna's mercy must come. Thus, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu very, again, purposefully and exactingly says, please pick me up from this ocean. Just like a child, I gave that example. If they want to go from here to the kitchen, a baby, infant, what is their only hope? So why do we put our hands up in kirtan? We're telling Krishna. Just like a child. who puts hands up, that's a signal, pick me up, right? Any baby puts their hands up, pick me up. Mothers know. We are telling to go around, pick me up and lift me from this ocean of suffering. So this is a very, very important point in this verse, that we are dependent on the mercy. Now the second point is even more important. That we must first have intense desire. Baby is picked up when the hands go up. We must desire. We must be, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the last verse said, right, make me your servant birth after birth. So we have to have the strength of desire, intense desire. And when we desire, Krishna's mercy will come. In Bhava Bhakti, one of the symptoms is called Ashabandha. It says that there's such a strong conviction that Krishna's mercy will come. In one way, it looks like almost like arrogance, that Krishna's mercy has to come. But it's actually born out of pure humility, that knowing that I only have Krishna's mercy to survive. And so it has to come. But that mercy is coming based on intense desire. Right? So it's confidence that Krishna's mercy will come, but not confidence in one's own self. That I can do it. That is through my own. No. But at the same time, we must do our part. Right? Prabhupada used to always use this example of a farmer. Right? A farmer can pray for rains. But if a farmer does not do his part and cultivate the fields and plant the seeds, when the rains come, will anything happen? No. So we can't just sit back and wait for Krishna's mercy to come. We have to do our part. But at the same time, if the farmer cultivates the fields and plants the seeds, will anything happen on itself? No. Rains must come. So this is how mercy and desire intersect. We're going to see this very clearly in our Dhamma Bandhana pastime discussions. Right? But our effort must be there, like the farmer. We must do our part. And that is, what is our part in this scenario? It is our determination. Our intense eagerness should be very strong. So how to understand the eagerness? So far throughout Siksastakam, we've seen, forest fire. We have seen ocean of bliss. Right? We've seen the moon rays. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is using different terms to help us comprehend or to contextualize a particular point. So here, he uses another amazing point. Where are we? Ocean of birth and death. So how strong your desire would be if you're thrown into middle of an ocean, being smashed by giant waves. Would you be like, tomorrow would be nice to get out? Maybe I'll come next week to the temple. Maybe I'll start chanting tomorrow, not today. No, how strong your desire would be. It would be immediate. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, as eager, but not only eager, how desperate you would be. Because you know one thing when you're in the middle of the ocean. What is that? You can't save yourself. You know definitively. You can be an Olympic Michael Phelps swimmer. In the middle of an ocean, no matter, you're done. So you have conviction. You can't save yourself. This is the mood in which we must approach the holy names. Chanting our japa. Knowing, I am in the middle of an ocean, drowning, so desperate to get out. And at that moment, am I going to answer a WhatsApp message? No. This is where attentive chanting comes. When we understand what our actual condition is. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is using again this very beautiful example for us. And then we know our only hope for survival is the life vest from the Supreme Lord. And of course, if we are intense in our desire, Krishna will never fail us. He will never fail us. He is always there to protect us. Right? So this verse brings us to this understanding. We need the mercy of Krishna. Please pick me up. And I must have intense desire. And the equivalent desire of drowning in the middle of an ocean. So we can understand that. That desire we have to replicate every time we chant the holy names. Then we'll make progress. And of course we see our sambandha. What is our relationship with Krishna? What is, eternal servitor. Not just servitor until I purify the heart and awaken Krishna Prem. I am eternal servitor. Right? So this verse concludes our Sambandha Gyan with this very powerful statement. That we are eternally the servant of the Lord. So this chanting of the holy names, we see the effect. Right? We started with no attraction. Then we learn how to chant constantly through these beautiful qualities, severing all of our material desires with intense desire, and to remain Krishna's eternal servant. So this is the result of one's chanting. So before we go to verse 6 now, we'll just kind of refresh. I think most of you must be familiar with the 9 steps from Shraddha Prem, right? So we see, how long does it take to get to Bhava? Right? So the road from the beginning to Bhava Bhakti is very long. It only took us 5 verses in Siksastakam in a couple of hours. But this is a very important, that this last 3 verses now are entering steps 8 and 9 of this process. Of course, we start with our faith. And that faith inspires us to associate with devotees. And in association, we begin to bhajana kriya, practice. Right? We become inspired to follow the principles. And it's through the practice of spiritual life that will remove the anarthas. And only after we are anartha nivritti, free of our anarthas, free of those impurities, then we become fixed. Because if I have material desires and spiritual desires, I'm going to split. Only until I reduce all to 0, I can be 100% focused in spiritual life. That will happen only when I have freed all my other material desires. So this is this anartha nivritti. Then when I'm fixed, fully focused, then the taste comes. So we're wondering when the taste of the holy names will come. When the taste of the holy name. When the taste will come? After we have freed ourselves of our anarthas. When the taste of that sweet rice is going to come? When all those grains of sand have been removed. So similarly, that process is the most critical. Because from there, the fixed becomes. And when the taste comes, oh Krishna, one cannot get enough. Addiction. We talk about addiction being a problem. It's not a problem. It's just we are addicted to the wrong things. Because the Shakti is like this intense addiction where one cannot be separated for even a few moments. We'll see that in verse 7. But this is the result of the taste. When we taste the holy names, game over to all other things. Because it's so sweet that you'll just want to chant again and again and again. Because it's so sweet. Then Bhava Bhakti can start, and of course Krishna Prema. So while we may say, oh, I have a long way to go, what do we have in our hand? The powerful tool, rocket fuel, to get us from wherever we are today So that's where we're going next, starting in verse 6. So we can chant this today. Nayanam galarashudaraya varanam gagadarudaya gira pulakaye nijitam vabukada tavanama gahane bhavishyati. Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly? Is not sufficient to chant. I want so many because it's not. So this Bhava Bhakti that we're seeing, Rupa Goswami explains, it's like the budding stage of Krishna Prem. So from Sadhana Bhakti to Bhava Bhakti is a very long journey. But from Bhava Bhakti, Prema Bhakti is just around the corner. And the example is given of a budding flower. When you see a budding flower on a plant, what do you know is coming soon? A fully bloomed flower. So similarly, when the bud appears, it means that Krishna Prema is right around the corner. And this, it means that the heart has become sufficiently soft. This Halari Shakti, this Samvit Shakti, this ability to understand and experience the happiness of Krishna consciousness, it becomes inserted into the heart. By who? Krishna. By Krishna. Krishna bestows that mercy upon us when we have made ourselves suitable enough to receive it. And so it is in this verse that the chanting of the holy names becomes very intensified. At this stage, when one reaches Bhava Bhakti, the chanting becomes very, very intensified. And we see this in great, great personalities. Of course, Haridas Thakur being the most prominent and most wonderful example for us. Right? So how to get to this stage, how to get to this point, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asking the question, when? One, there should be eagerness, and two, mercy of Krishna. Right? And this is where our sadhana bhakti comes into play. Our sadhana is a regulated practice of our bhakti. We have to have an aim. What is my goal of sadhana? If I have a goal, then my execution will be more sincere. Just like I was giving this example to somebody before the break, that if I go to the gym and I don't have a goal, I just kind of go, I'll get some benefit. But if I go to the gym and my goal is to, be able to do 50 push-ups in a month or be able to run 10 miles, or I have some goal, then what is the sincerity of my execution in the gym with a goal? It's better, right? It's more focused. So if I approach my sadhana with a goal, and what is that goal? To awaken these ecstatic symptoms of spiritual life, then the intensity of my sadhana increases nicely. So we have to establish purpose, right? Our intention should be established. Then attention will follow. So bring the purpose of achieving these. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is begging, when? We have to inculcate that mood. Deciding, when will my voice falter? And when will the hairs stand on end? When am I going to experience the joy and bliss of spiritual life? So we should approach our sadhana with this very strong prayerful mood. Then the results will come. Because the pace, how long it takes, in whose hands is that? No, it's in ours. Krishna will reciprocate according to the intensity of our desires. According to the intensity of our desires. Sweet, but it's filled with humility. Right? So the same way, Krishna's mercy will come. So these are just, I put them here, we won't discuss them in detail, but these are the 9 symptoms of Bhava Bhakti. This all comes from Nectar of Devotion. And very sweet, what we see, this, intense focus on utilizing all of our time in spiritual life, right? This perseverance, right? We get some setbacks. What do? Do we remain steadfast or do we give up? Right? This detachment, to sense enjoyment. This detachment in Bhava Bhakti is like this though. Our detachment might be, okay, I have to stop associating with this because I cannot avoid the temptations. In Bhava Bhakti, one can be in the midst of any temptation come to show. And the reporter was asking, expecting some being able to produce a mango from thin air or levitate or, had all these ideas. And Srila Prabhupada responded, I can be in a room full of naked women and not the least bit disturbed. I mean, the reporter could not even begin to understand what Srila Prabhupada was talking about. But the point was that the advanced devotee, they can be in the midst of temptation, but it's because it has no registering to them because their consciousness is so far beyond that it doesn't even register. So this is the position of one in Bhava Bhakti. We are in the don't look, don't call, avoid all temptations. But soon, by good chanting, all those temptations won't even register. And one doesn't have to even abstain from that because they're so embedded in the higher taste. So anyways, these are 9 symptoms. We won't go through all of them in the interest of time, but just wanted to share where they are. So now, verse number 7. Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyayatam jagat sarvam govinda virahena me. Oh Govinda, feeling your separation, I'm considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain. We see one of the important features in this verse that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and many of the sahajyas, the pretenders, have really misconstrued badly that the actual highest realm of love with Krishna is in separation. This Vipralamba Seva. If we read Chaitanya Charitamrita, particularly Antya Lila, you see this mood of separation. And this separation, it's like, in one way, again, you read it, you think how painful, right? The residents of Vrindavan, what they endured when Krishna left for Mathura, or when Lord Nityananda left with the sannyasi, what Hadai Pandit and his mother, just complete devastation and pain. But actually this pain of separation is, it's a very intensified love. In Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the example is given, how we can understand. Like, if you put an ice cube on your skin, it'll become so cold it feels like it's burning. Hot. But it's not hot, it's cold. So we externally see pain and devastation. But actually, it is this intensified love that is experienced only in Vipralamba, in this mood of separation. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is reminding us that, what is our desire here is this separation. And how to kind of, again, use a mundane example, right? I can do an experiment. Okay, everyone take a breath and then hold it. Hold it. Okay, after just a few moments, what are we missing? As much as we feel separation from air, the devotee, a few seconds of separation is like being separated from oxygen. But we could hold for a few seconds and be okay. For the devotee who has so intense love for Krishna, the blinking of the eyes is too much. We don't even notice the blinking of the eyes. But the devotee, the gopis, they are chastising Lord Brahma like anything. Oh, again, they are speaking, you fool! How you made these dumb things? At least a camel has see-through eyelids, so they can see through them. But I have these, I can't see Krishna for One chakshush. This 1/12 of a second. But that's unbearable pain and separation. This is the mood. How are we? How am I? I chant my round. Finish it? I'll see you tomorrow. Done. Mother, yeah, I finished my rounds. Not I enjoyed the whole... I finished. Finishing is the goal. So we have a little ways to go. But the devotee in Prema Bhakti, even 1 millisecond away from Krishna, is like fully intolerable. And this depth of attraction, how is going to come? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. I'll read one quick verse, if my eyes permit. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says he gives an unbelievable verse. So, as I mentioned, this all comes from these verses are captured in Chaitanya Charitamrita, the last chapter, and so the verse is quoted. But this is verse 41. He says, "The three worlds have become void because of separation from Govinda." Now hear this. "I feel as if I were burning alive in a slow fire." Oh, this is the pain of separation. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is expressing that one experiences when they are in Krishna Prema. Such a intensified love, right? So again, our position is a little different. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that this is the unique feature, the mood, that they're always in this desiring this mood of separation. And we see in our Sadgoswami Astakam this Hey Radhe, Hey Vajdevi, Aditya Nando, Sunakuto. Where are you, Krishna? Where are you, Radharani? Where have you gone? To Govardhan? To Kalindi? Where? This mood of searching. And we see this in the whole Antya-lila, those last 12 years, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is fixed in Puri, and is just absorbed in running and searching for Krishna. So this is the actual embodiment of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's teaching, is this mood of Vipralamba Seva. So this we see. So now we'll come to the final verse and then read a few more verses from Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, Ashrisa va paretam pinashtumam adarshamarama tam korotu va yatha tata va viradato lampato mat prananatastu sa eva napara. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord. He comes himself in the mood of Srimati Radharani. Why? To experience that intensity of love. Think about that. Krishna, the supreme controller. He is Anadir Adir. He is the source of everything. He is Purnam, complete. Yet, he himself cannot understand the depth, the intensity of Krishna Prema. And so he comes to experience it. So this is how powerful this is. And this is and so, at one point, I think we often feel, wow, I'll never get there. That's not possible. But that is factually incorrect. Why? I'll prove it now. We are part and parcel of Krishna. This Krishna Prema, Srila Prabhupada writes right in the beginning of Nectar Devotion. He says that the practice of sadhana bhakti and through bhava bhakti to already there. We already have this highest love for Krishna. And where is it? Right here. But it is covered. It is subdued. And Prabhupada uses the beautiful example that when a child is born, a mother and father, they do not give the ability for that child to walk. But what do? They bring it out by teaching it, holding its hand, giving it some process. But the ability to walk was given by the Lord. So similarly, our Krishna Prema, it is lying dormant within all of our hearts. So while this may feel maybe out of reach or very far away, it is actually lying within all of us. If I say, I want to become, the world's best cricket player, well, that's not within my capacity. I don't have the physical attribute features. It's no matter how much I practice, it's impossible, right? But to awaken this Krishna Prema, this highest that is within each and every one of our capacity. Because that is our constitutional position. That is our original position. We had it once. All we are trying to do is reawaken it. It was awake before. That should give us great confidence, great hope that if I follow the process, if I follow the instructions from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, it will happen. And it can happen. So while we're going to read some very mind-blowing examples of this mood, we should hold with great confidence. I can do it also, but not on my own. With the mercy of Krishna and my drowning in an ocean-like intensity of desire, it can happen for us as well. This highest mood. So all we have to do is purify. And of course we know how we're going to purify. By going out and cultivating a garden. How are we going to purify? Great chanting. Offenseless chanting of the holy names. That is the process that we're going to do. I think in that can we read some verses from this final chapter? That gives the mood when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gives this verse. Okay, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that this mood of unconditional, make me broken-hearted by not being present before me, handle me roughly by his embrace. The absolute perfection of unconditional love is Srimati Radharani. She is the perfection of this mood. And these verses, they're a little sensitive, but again, in this Sangha, I think we can discuss them. But Krishnas Kaviraj Goswami gave them. Today is his disappearance day. So we're taking his mercy to just hear and understand the depth of what unconditional love means. Even with this build-up, you'll be blown away. So it explains that while Srimati Radharani was thinking in this way, the character of natural love became manifest in her pure heart. Okay? So the verse says, I am the maidservant at the lotus feet of Krishna. He is the embodiment of transcendental happiness and mellows. If he likes, he can tightly embrace me and make me feel oneness with him, or by not giving me his audience, he may corrode my mind and body. Nevertheless, it is he who is the Lord of my life. So again, whether he is close or far, that's unconditional. Just hear the decision of my mind, Krishna, who is the life, Lord of my life. Sometimes Krishna gives up the company of other gopis and becomes controlled by me. Thus he manifests good fortune and gives others distress by performing his loving affairs with me. This is Srimati Radharani speaking. Or, since after all he is very cunning, obstinate, with a propensity to cheat, he takes the company of others. He then indulges in loving affairs with them in front of me to give me distress in my mind. Nevertheless, he is the Lord of my life. I do not mind my personal distress. I only wish for the happiness of Krishna. For the happiness is the goal of my life. However, if he feels, hear this statement. However, if he feels happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. Can I read that again? If he feels happiness in giving me distress, that distress is the best of my happiness. Oh, Krishna. How unconditional love exists in the heart of his pure devotee. It goes further. If Krishna, attracted by the beauty of some other woman, wants to enjoy with her, but is unhappy because he cannot get her, I fall down at her feet, catch her hand, and bring her to Krishna to engage for his happiness. I don't know. It keeps going. I'll leave the rest for you to read. It's unbelievable. This is unconditional love. Now, what does it mean for all of us? It means when we are doing our service, we should think Krishna is the object of happiness. I am trying to please Krishna. If I am rolling chapatis in the kitchen because it's my turn to cook for the Lord, and someone else comes and I know, oh, they make better chapatis than me, I should not get my elbows out and say, hey, my service today. I should think, let me assist you. You know how to make nice chapatis? Because my goal should be Krishna's happiness. Not, I want to do this service. Right? Temple managers know. All the world quote-unquote prime services everybody signs up for. But the so-called less glamorous services, but the devotee says, whatever service makes Krishna happy. Think about this for 1 second. If our goal is to please Krishna, I'll make the example. Pardon me, I'll just go to a little extreme. If my options in services is to perform midnight arti to the Lordship, or to clean the toilets all day during Janmashtami, which service is best? Of course you all say, oh, clean the toilets, that's what we're supposed to say. But just think about this for a second. Krishna knows. How long is the line of those wanting to perform arti to him in the evening? Very long. How long is the line for those willing to do that cleaning service? So imagine, when Krishna sees, oh, my devotee is willing to do that service to please my guests who have come to see me on my appearance day, which service will please Krishna more? Is there any doubt? Any doubt? Of course, which service will please us more? Yeah, we know. But if our mood is which service will please Krishna? So how to bring about at least some glimpses of this unconditional. We cannot compete or even get close to what we read, but we can apply in our day-to-day practice, keeping in center what I can do to please Krishna. Looking for where I can be. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us this principle, das and das and das. Servant to the servant to the servant. Why? Very, Borijan Prabhu gives this, wonderful example. I repeat it all the time, hoping someday I'll understand it. He says that the devotee understands that we might think that, okay, if I am like 20 layers removed from the Lord, I'm in the back position. I'm in the back row, right? But the devotee, their focus is not where my position is. What is their focus? Krishna's happiness. What is Radharani's focus? Does she want to be with Krishna? No. She says, whether you're close or far, what is her focus? Krishna's happiness. If Krishna's happiness is elsewhere, she'll facilitate that. So Dasananda is a simple analysis. Okay, if I am serving Krishna, then that means I am in between Krishna and Srimati Radharani. Well, who can serve Krishna better? Srimati Radharani or me? Okay, Srimati Radharani. I'll step one step back. Okay, but if I am serving Srimati Radharani, then I am in between her and Lalita Devi. Well, who can serve Srimati Radharani better? Me or Lalita? Oh, okay, I go one step back. Well, then I'm between one of the Manjaris and like this, the analysis goes, and we find our rightful position. But we experience no less happiness. We don't lament, because again, this taste, this experience in spiritual life. So the challenge for us, one time, next time, take the service you don't like at all. The one service you don't like. And do that. And you see your experience. Because Krishna is going to see, my child is doing something he doesn't like to do. And then you tell, what is your taste in that service at the end? You will see, very practically, this in action. Don't take my word for it. It is very powerful. So this is an opportunity for us to do this. So this is, of course, the perfected stage, which, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Remember, he came to give this highest realm of love. Is there any higher love than what we just read? It doesn't exist. And he made that available to each and every one of us by just following these 8 verses. How deep and potent they are. That this, what no one else can achieve through all kinds of other Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave us too in 8 verses. So this is our opportunity. So I'll just conclude with a few and then we'll open up for more discussion. So why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left these verses, we know this is the mercy. So this is a summary from Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur. So the first verse he says, teaches us the process of congregational chanting and how we can realize the ineptitude, the lack of attraction we have. The third verse gives us the procedure for chanting this no offenses. And the fourth, how to become free of the detrimental desires, the sand in the sweet rice that prevents us from tasting the holy names. The fifth reveals my eternal servant, eternally. The sixth verse, how one experiences his good fortune of coming closer to Krishna. Of course, the surrendered souls who read the Siksastakam prayers, which are the nectarian words flowing from the mouth of the Supreme Lord Gauranga, with devotion, will certainly be attracted to the honey from Lord Chaitanya's lotus feet. And like the intoxicated bees, plunged into the lily-filled lake of Krishna Prem. 401 years after the advent of Lord Gauranga, the comment called Sri Sanmadhan Bhashyam has been composed by me, Srila Kedarnath Bhakti Vinod. So this is the benediction that Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur is giving, that the surrendered souls who read these Siksastakam prayers with devotion. So now we know why Srila Prabhupada established every day we read these prayers. And again, as I open, the goal is that we will try to read these prayers with more intention and more absorption into the meaning, which is why. Okay. So I'll conclude. So I hope we're being inspired to. You don't know them yet, and if you are reciting them, but reciting them every day, and to have some greater appreciation for how important these verses are, and to read the English translation, unless you are well versed in Sanskrit, to understand what it is that we are reading. Very, very important. And I think sometimes we underdo this in all of our verses. We embark on this process of japa. Hopefully we can work to make chanting, again, the most important activity of our day. We have to protect this to its fullest. Not, I finish my rounds during the gaps that present itself during the day. I get to them at the end at some point or another. Of course, there are practical, grihastha limitations that we have to be cognizant of. We cannot be fanatical as well. We have to be practical. But at least there can be some lamentation in the heart when we're not able to achieve our rounds nicely because of some practical realities. So again, but make this the most important activity of our day. And how we do that, by trying to rise early, by trying to chant in one session to the extent possible. No two-handed chanting. It only takes one hand to chant. So drop the phone, drop the spoon, drop the steering wheel, whatever else. Hopefully no motorcycles. But as much as we can. And we're coming up on Kartik Mas. It is the great month for us to make a vow, a Kartik Vrat, to maybe improve, intensify our chanting. So if not for eternity, at least for the next month, we can think of, I'm going to finish my rounds 1 hour earlier than I normally do, or I'm going to, give up 15 minutes of sleep, or, I'm not going to double task, triple task, whatever it is you can do. You can try to make some vrata during this month of Kartik, focused on improving the quality of our chanting. This is because we can see what is the fruit, the result? Ultimate success. Krishna. Such beautiful experience. So that is our hope. Hopefully we have some focusing and working on these 10 offenses to the best possible. And pray intensely. Right? Like when we're drowning in an ocean, we have to intensify our prayer, intensify our desire. Because Krishna hears. Unfortunately, Krishna doesn't even hear what we speak. He knows what's in the core of our heart. So that is both good and bad, right? If everybody knew what's in the core of our heart, nobody would invite us for lunch. Hence, they should be read, recited, and worshipped monthly, weekly, daily. By, I think that means sincere and fortunate souls. These prayers should be their constant companion, learnt and taken to heart. So this is the wish and desire, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So we all can pray together that this can manifest in each of our hearts.